And welcome everyone to the live cross and forum bias. Yes, obviously this is the very first live cross YouTube. And I just wanted to welcome obviously everyone that is going to be watching us live today, as well as obviously everyone who is going to be watching the replay, which is going to be going directly to YouTube immediately after this, as well as of course obviously the people who are listening to us on the actual podcast. Now, when it comes down to how we're going to be doing today, just a couple of quick clarity things. We do have the obviously you can see down here we have the comment section. If you can do me a very quick favor during today, if you can just type into, if you're asking a question, type the word question into it, because I do have Eileen offsite actually watching the questions so we can keep track of them, because I am going to be having a conversation. That's what this actually is, a conversation with two guys, which is going to be Laird and Anish about a particular topic, and I want to be able to keep track of all of your questions. But of course, obviously, we of course want to welcome Paul naturally to the same. Welcome, Paul. How are you, mate? And obviously, everyone who's coming in, please do say hello, because I would love to know where you all are. We are literally streaming to every part of the planet of the EO universe, so it's fabulous to have you here. So without further ado, I'm going to be welcoming our two main guests today, which of course is Anish and Laird. Welcome, boys. How are we?
Hello.
Good. Hello. Now, just so I think people know who I am. Anish and Laird, how about you very quickly introduce yourself? Anish, how about you very quickly introduce yourself so people who don't know who you are, they will know what you're here for.
Sure. So my name is Anish, and I'm a fellow EO member from EO Gujarat chapter, and also a forum facilitator for EO.
Perfect. And Laird?
Yeah, my name's Laird Daubenspeck. I'm from EO Cleveland. I'm serving on the Global Forum Committee with Anish, and I'm one of the lead forum experts.
Boy, we've been up together, and just the people that don't know, my name is Rod Sinclair, EO Perth. I've been everything with forum, and I love everything about forum. That's primarily why I'm here. I'm the talking head when it comes down to it. Okay, so now, boys, our main topic today, just so everyone knows, is going to be about the forum mindset. Not only what it is, but also how we can actually use it to better give us forum experience, but also outside of the forum. So, Anish, do you want to maybe go ahead and explain to everyone, just for the people who don't know exactly what the forum mindset is? And I'll just share the screen, mate, so people can actually see you while you're talking about it. Go for it, mate.
So forum mindset is all about the mindset that we need to have in a forum from the beginning of the forum meeting all the way to the end of the forum meeting. And it's all about the culture. It's adapting the culture which Japanese have. Is all about being curious, and we call it Soshin. So it's beginner's mind. Every time we go in a forum meeting, what is something that we are learning out of the meeting today? So it's all about being curious, having a beginner's mind, which actually leads us to be actively listening, which means not only lending your ears, but also emotionally and mentally connecting to each and every person that you are communicating with in the forum. This leads to showing empathy in a way that we could resonate with the person whom we are listening to. At the same time, when we resonate, we reflect back into our lives and sort of connect with the individual on a more deeper level. And when we are able to do that, we can share experiences from our introspection, from our self-awareness on similar things that are parallel experiences, or maybe resonating experiences, not necessarily exactly the replica of what our forum mates have been going through. The intention about all this at the same time is not about being smart or not about being right, which means that we're not here to give advices, fix them, that is, solve their problems. And it also is not about being judgmental and not being superior. So by the whole mindset, we sort of make sure that everyone's equal, everyone's learning, everyone's curious, everyone shows empathy, and everyone resonates with each other. That's all forum mindset's all about. And it's also from the beginning to the end of the forum meeting, and which aids to great learning, discovery, and growth in the forum.
In your opinion, as a trainer, which one of that do you believe is the hardest for forum members to, the new people coming into forum, or new people, which one do you believe is the hardest for people to, I suppose, adjust to?
Yeah, pretty much all are hard depending on where everyone is in their awareness. But sometimes even beginner's mindset is hard because everyone comes with a preconceived notion. So having that shift from, I don't know anything to what I want to learn today, at the same time, actively listening, because it's, when we say listen, we generally connect directly ourselves to, or we picturize ears, but we never picturize our heart and our mind along with it. So sometimes it's also difficult to do that. But yeah, just not giving advice is probably the most toughest thing. If I would have to say something, that people love giving advice for free, actually at no cost, and that's probably the most difficult thing.
Mate, I have to admit, when I started my EO journey, not giving advice, or more to the point, the way I would put it would be problem solving, was the hardest thing for me to stop automatically doing. And when it comes down to making sure, like, would your recommendation be for, because is this graphic a new one, mate, or is it an old one? Is it new? What is it?
It's a graphic that's just been made from all the learnings that have happened. So it's not an EO graphic, and it's not new, it's not old. It's just there. I have put things together. That's it.
Mate, to me, from a graphic point of view, it breaks it down perfectly to know, at least also for other forum members to understand what the expectations are. Because when the forum mindset falls down, any of those between active listening from the point of view of sharing experiences only, of course, not trying to be right, because that's when I've ever gone in and coached forums, that's sometimes a misunderstanding what the expectation is around forum mindset has caused most of the problems. Because I do remember when I had to actually coach a brand new forum, and they were having an issue with one of the members who was always coming in with how to fix the problem. And they thought they were giving value, but they were actually subtracting from it, because they were closing everyone down from the point of view of their expectation of forum mindset. Which is the perfect way of putting it. And what I made is I'll just move that screen up so they can see all of us again. Yeah. Don't need my big head. That makes it easier. So Laird, of course, obviously now you wanted to have a very quick chat now about, now we understand the forum mindset, about some history of where it came from and also how it can be used outside. Because I have to admit, without knowing what the forum mindset is, I've used this a lot in my business and personal life without even knowing it, because I learned it from forum. And I've made some changes with a lot of people. But you want to talk about the history first, especially about the actual Gestalt language protocol and stuff.
Yeah, so for those of us that came on board, you know, Anish, myself, Rod, when we were first forum trained, we were trained, rather than the forum mindset, we were trained in the Gestalt language protocol. And that was very much about the rules on how we conduct forum, how we speak, some things were very much the same, the active listening and not giving advice, but it was very much a set of rules of how we do forum. And it really was tough to use those rules outside of forum, just the way they were taught. So a couple of years ago, EO switched from the Gestalt language protocol to the forum mindset, which I personally believe was one of the biggest things we've done at forum in the last several years. And really the forum mindset's much more about how we show up personally. It lends an authenticity to our personal interactions within forum. And very much like you'd mentioned, Rod, I found that once I started thinking about the forum mindset and using it as a mindset, it was something that really started to spill outside of forum. And I found that I was using it in my business, in my personal relationships, in my marriage. And that's really where we started to take a look at where is the value of the forum mindset, not just within that 4-hour meeting, but, you know, across our lives, and how do we want to show up in the world?
Mate, I remember when they changed from the Gestalt to the forum mindset, and I have to admit, being an old member, it was hard for me, just so you know. Every time I kept on saying Gestalt, oh, hang on, it's Gestalt forum mindset, hang on, routine. But I do agree with I must admit, when they made the change, I struggled to, I suppose, come to terms with the why. But now after the fact, and understanding not only that graphic, but also where it came from, it makes more sense to me now, especially when I explain it to people outside of EO. Because they actually thought, seriously, they thought I made the word up, Gestalt. I actually thought I made the word up. I said, no. But now when I explain it, it does make it easier. But you're saying just there about using it outside of forum. How have you actually done that, mate?
So the way I kind of look at the forum mindset is I look at that 4-hour meeting as kind of a laboratory where we get to perfect the forum mindset and work on it and develop it as a skill. But then to take it outside and start using it in our personal interactions, and particularly when we talk about not problem solving. I can't think of a single disagreement with my wife that she wants me to problem solve for her, you know, or she wants me to tune her out and not actively listen. And, you know, so often there's some EO members that just are great within forum with the forum mindset, but as soon as we step outside of forum, we fall right back into the learned behaviors and our reaction, and we kind of lose that mindfulness, that mindset, and it's so easy to just react. So for me, I find, I use it particularly in my business as a leader, how I coach. I use it in my personal relationships. It just really kind of changes how I show up in the world.
And Matt, your point about the problem solving resonates not only with my wife, obviously, she does not want me to solve her problems for her, but also, funny enough, when I actually took the forum mindset model into my business and I stopped solving problems for my people, not only were they able to learn more and do more, I got to do less of their job. And a lot of people do and don't know the story about how I nearly left EO after the third meeting because I didn't have time. And the reason why I didn't have time was because I was continually problem solving for all of my people. I hadn't learned the lesson yet. And that has certainly resonated with me from the point of view of not being a problem solver, being an experienced sharer so they can save the problem or solve the problem themselves, which makes total sense to me. When it comes down to, sorry, go, mate, go.
Yeah, you bring up a great point there, Rod, as far as particularly not solving your employees' problems, because as a leader, when you use that forum mindset and you start to use that Shoshin mindset and just ask questions, to kind of discuss your way to the solution. When they find that solution on their own, they have ownership in it. It's not that Laird told me to do this or Rod told me to do that. They came up with the solution, and they have a lot more buy-in in making sure that solution works. So when you talk about it freeing you up, I see the same thing. So when the employees, that we lead start, finding the solutions on their own, one, they develop as employees, they learn, and they free up our time.
Totally, mate. I was just writing down there just before. It's funny how the biggest frustration I have with not problem solving is accepting the fact that it's going to take longer for them to fix the problem. And it's very frustrating for me. But it's funny, as soon as I actually adopted that mindset and knew that they were going to find it, I gained more time than I lost. But I am very impatient, especially in forum as well. When you're sitting there in forum and someone's bringing up a challenge, they bring up whatever challenge it is, and you've been at exactly the same challenge, and you've done something which either fixed it or didn't fix it, made it worse. You want to say, oh, no, don't do this. You're not routine because that's what you did. Or do this because that's what I did. And framing it has actually, within forum, has actually helped me to transition that skill out to both my GM, my restaurant managers, my account girl, where I just say, look, when I had this challenge myself, I did this. What do you think? Funny enough, 9 times out of 10, my people find a better solution anyway. And if they did mine, it wouldn't be a good one. But the time thing was the hardest part for me to be able to accept from the point of view of it's going to take longer to actually do it. But Anish, I've got a question for you, mate, about the forum mindset. It's all good to know what it is. It's all good to know primarily what the value is. But what do people do within the forum experience if someone isn't following it? If you understand what I mean, or can't, or won't, or whatever it comes down to. From your trainer's perspective, what could they do in the forum to reinforce the forum mindset, not only to understand it, but also do it within forum?
Sure. One of the easiest way to get that thing in place, as Laird explained earlier, that it's use the forum as a laboratory to master the skill. So it's been taught in few hours, but then you have a lifetime to sort of master it, and it doesn't happen without practice. So it's like practice, and the best way to along the good practices to get this going in a forum is to have a forum mindset monitor who rotates every forum meeting. So today I'm the monitor, tomorrow Laird is the third meeting, Rod, you are the monitor. And it's like us being a monitor, a class monitor in grade 5. When we are the monitor, we have to behave the best and ensure all rules are followed. It just triggers mindset to sort of be very aware about how the conversations are happening in a forum and bring about those gaps at all. And when we do that, we get better at it. So it's a good practice that everyone becomes a monitor every meeting, and it rotates, and it really works if that's followed.
May
But
we
just
tell
what I
us?
wanted to add, yeah, sorry.
Go.
I wanted to add something to what you were saying earlier about the fixing problem. You know that it takes longer if you try to fix the problem, but if they follow mindset, it's easy because then they own it as well. And I wanted to add that from different cultures, because we are here from 3 different regions at least on the screen, but as a community, we are all over the world. And some of the regions using for a mindset in a professional arena is quite tough, because where what to do is always being told and expected. So I have an experience here where when I work with my leadership team and I started applying this mindset, the ownership came to a level where they started being accountable. Of course, that's a great benefit. But the other benefit was they stopped seeing me as superior. And because of that, they were so open to come and talk to me about things they felt that we were not doing right as an organization. And culturally, this is a great shift in India, at least. That leadership team is very open to come and say that this is what we should change, not do, accept it, or whatnot. So the no part, that started coming up, and it really helped my organization. So I thought, let me just add that as well, because it was an interesting conversation you and Laird were having before I answered that question.
No, that makes total sense. And we've got a question here from CC, which I'll bring up in 2 seconds. But, mate, it does actually ring true with me from the point of view of having a forum mindset monitor. And what I'll do is I'll go to CC's questions first. I'll just bring it up here. So CC, of course, says, is it best to take turns as a monitor? Because obviously in their forum, they're the same task. Just like, as you said, timekeeper, observation, moderators set for duration. In other words, they're asking the question, is it good? Is it okay to keep the same person and then change it as it goes? Or is your recommendation to change it every meeting?
So the good practice is to change every meeting, because, as I said, we all get better at it. It's like, it's ideally a new moderator every year. Similarly, ideally a new forum mindset observer / monitor, yes, whatever you want to call, every meeting. And same as the timekeeper, because everyone wants to get good at timekeeping as well. And if you are going to be changing a timekeeper every month, it's going to help everyone start being more aware about timekeeping.
Gotcha. And it actually makes sense to me, not only from, I know some forums do things differently, and we used to call it an actual Gestalt monitor, but forum might say, you know what I mean, the same thing. And the one thing is we used to be able to change between them, and that was primarily because we were a new forum learning what not forum mindset, or not Gestalt at that point, looked like. And that was the biggest point, because the one thing is that having the same person back then would have been a problem, because one person would have been the person looking for it and the others weren't, I suppose, reinforcing the learning what it looks like. So I suppose it depends on the forum journey. Now, the forum I'm in, we don't need to change it because we all know what it is. So it's the same person's there. But I have a question for you, though, based on the monitor. Someone's doing a 5% reflection deep dive, whatever it is, and someone is showing signs of breaching the forum mindset, whatever it is, giving advice, not empathy, not listening, whatever it is. Let's pick a harder one. Someone who's not listening, actively listening, doing something, whatever it is. Do you pick them up there, like immediately, like whoop, stop everything, you're not actively listening, or what's the recommendation, if you know what I mean? Is it that they pick it up then, or they wait for a break, I suppose?
Sure. It really depends on what stage of forum development they're in. For example, if they're very new forum, very new to each other, maybe it's a good practice to have a one-on-one conversation with the individual in the break, or maybe outside the forum later on, and explain them the importance of it. If the forum is already 5, 6, 7 years into the forum and they are like really performing. And if you look at the Tuckman's model, it's forming, storming, norming, and then performing. So if they're already performing, maybe it's time to storm the forum all over again,
Yep.
because they have become complacent and not following any mindset. And at that time, maybe snubbing it, not really rudely, but like pointing it out honestly, in a very nice way that, hey, this is something which we are not supposed to be doing. It sort of storms the forum and brings the forum back to the storming stage, which makes them think about the norms all over again. Like, this is something which you have to follow, and and they start performing again. So it depends on what stage of the forum they're in, and then it can be handled that way.
In what they're doing, because that makes a lot of logical sense to me, mate. I know in our past we used to have a bell, ding. If you heard the bell, something was going wrong. If you know, because people don't want to interrupt talking, but whatever works. I'm totally with you. Because I've been in forums, I was in a forum for 14 years. I'm in a brand new forum now, which is awesome, Forum Cloud9, and we just tell each other on the spot. But you're right, it depends. It depends. Laird, do you have any comment about that of when if someone isn't necessarily doing forum mindset within the forum experience, what they could do, or also when they actually take action on it?
Yeah, actually, one of the great stories I heard was a forum that uses a card system. So they have yellow cards and red cards. And if somebody is kind of tiptoeing up to that line of maybe getting out of experience share and into advice giving, the yellow card will start to come up. And if the red card comes up, then we actually would stop and then address that issue.
Gotcha, mate. I like that, Rick, or whatever. I like that, and making it your own, red card or yellow card. You're on the line. Routine, you're getting close. I like that. And we do have another question here from Paul. I'll just bring it up onto the screen. Should we monitor? Should the monitor point every infraction? In other words, if there's an issue, may report at the end of the meeting and so on. So in other words, is it all in, or is it only on major ones and then wait to the end? You know, when you review the forum experience. Anish, how about you? What do you think, mate?
Again, there is no right or wrong answer to these. Every forum is diverse, yet every forum is unique. And so whatever works for them, works for them. But a couple of good practices that can be used here. One is if the infraction is needs an immediate attention. Yes, maybe what we just discussed, use cards. Red card, green card, yellow card, that assigns or that assigned to a certain level of degree of infraction. That's one way to do it. But the only way it can be handled if it is just a very simple one. Simple infraction is that take it one-on-one outside the forum. It just keeps the respect of the forum member as well. Maybe sometimes it's unintentional. That it's the forum members get carried away, and we are humans at the end of the day, and we are wired like that.
Passionate is what I call it, right? They get passionate about a problem.
Yeah. So when we are human, we understand that we're human. We make such mistakes regularly. It's always good to be humane and be calm about it as well at the same time. So it's a mix of these good practices, I would say. There is no right or wrong.
I totally agree, and it's funny. It's not like you're giving a yes/no answer. If you know what I mean. It does depend. The only thing is the only absolute true thing that I can say from my experience of being in forum, coaching forums, and everything else is that if there is an issue, it needs to be spoken about. That's it. It can't be not spoken about. Now, firstly, Paul just had a comment here, which I think is an awesome one, which it comes down to instead of when we're on Zoom calls, as a lot of us are, maybe even having the person be able to change their background red, yellow, because obviously, when all the screens are really little on Zoom, you can't see a little red card, unless you hold it up. But if your whole background goes red, that's a perfect way of thinking of, mate. I think that's an actual awesome idea. And we also do have another question here from Danny very quickly. And this is a very common one. In other words, someone comes to a forum, and tell me if I'm wrong on it, but someone where the forum wants advice. They come, I've got a deep dive, and I want your advice on what I need to do. Now, I know I'm going to be opening a can of worms here. I know I am, because I've had this conversation, I think, for about 15 years with forum. Now, Laird, I'm not going to throw you under the bus, but I'm going to start with you, because I thought you've been around the forum love as much as I do. What do you think is the right answer, Phil? What if the forum wants advice? Do you give it?
So I would say yes and no. And what I mean by that is we can't maintain that forum mindset and give advice. So I'll give you an example. We had a forum member in my forum who really needed advice. So what we did is we scheduled a separate meeting and we pulled together industry experts around his problem. And we had a totally separate meeting, but we did not do that advice giving within the forum meeting. So we were able to separate where do we maintain the forum mindset and where do we give advice? Because sometimes you just need tactical advice. You need somebody to take a look and give you an opinion. But that's, in my opinion, that's not something that happens inside the forum meeting.
No. And, you know, there's people who are expert in property who I want their opinion on. I get that, mate. So in other words, what you're saying is look for the advice, but outside of forum. Anish, what do you think?
So generally when people ask for advice, it's the intention of the question is, how do I do it, or what do I do? And that's the reason they need an advice. So one of the things which Laird mentioned, of course, it's a very good practice, is to tackle this in a different way and not do like a standard forum deep dive. There could be topical discussions, brainstorming, subject matter experts, sometimes success stories. You know, I want to take my company to public and have an IPO. How do I do it? If a forum member has done it already, it's a success story, like a 15-minute monologue, and then question answers. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of also handling it is it's just about how well the forum is aware about it. One is that is the forum aware that we're asking for advice from the right people? Are they really capable to give me an advice? Are they expert on the topic or not? And if that mindset, it's all about forum mindset again, right? It's not about being smart or right. If that comes in, then this definitely won't be a concern. Another way to look at it is that the question that I'm asking for, as opening up for advice, can I pay services for? Meaning, can I hire a consultant, a lawyer, a doctor, a professional to help me out, or can I Google it? If yes, then maybe I should use that route as opposed to be using my forum for it.
Man, you make a big point, and so does CC also makes a point here that they save opinions advice for the happy hour, which I do understand that very well. I get a lot of opinions at happy hour, sometimes good ones and bads, but from my own perspective, it's up to the forum. I agree with you too. I think seeking people's advice from your forum members is part of the value of your forum experience. Doing it in forum is very, very dangerous. Now, I've coached a forum who nearly actually imploded because of advice. They had one person in the forum who started their deep dive saying, look, I wanted your advice. I want it. Give it to me straight. Am I give it to me straight. Give it to me straight. That individual actually got what they wanted. And it ended up being okay. It wasn't successful, wasn't perfect, but it was okay. The problem was there was two members within that forum who, when they came up to the next deep dive, the individual who wanted the advice asked them if they wanted advice as well. They said, no, I do not. And it actually made that individual feel that they couldn't share in a trusting way because they weren't doing what others were doing. And the thing is that it's very dangerous. But I seek advice from my forum members every week, practically. I ring them, what do you think? I've got this property. Oh, my goodness me, this shareholders agreement. You know, I seek, because they're experts in their field. But my forum is too important to me to seek advice within my forum experience. But that's just my opinion on what I've learned there. Sorry, a couple of us coming in from, hello, Rahina from Mexico. Hello. And Paul, which is good. And of course, Rahina's here. Of course, I want to say hello. She's helped me a lot with my forum journey. Okay, so thank you, boys. Sorry to open that can of worms, but obviously it was something which I think is very, very poignant. So confidentiality and safety. Laird, you had down here, you want to have a quick chat about the confidentiality as well as the safety, non-judgment role connection, not only within the forum, but outside. But do you want to have a conversation about those, mate?
Yeah, so this is kind of my opinion on how the four pillars of forum kind of interconnect with each other. So, you know, we have personal accountability, forum mindset, confidentiality, vulnerability. For me, personally, what I see is the confidentiality leads us to a place of safety. That safety enables vulnerability. And then what that vulnerability does is that leads to true connection. And for me, true connection is why I'm in forum, is to have that authentic connection. And I see it almost as a chain where the forum mindset enables each of those other pieces to get us to a point of connection. Also with, you know, we kind of look at the four cornerstones of forum. You know, we talk about intimacy. You know, we'll meet an EO member from, you know, another chapter. It could be at an airport. It could be wherever. And we immediately have that instant intimacy because we share the core values of EO. One of those is confidentiality. And one of the things that I have learned is, particularly when we look at taking forum mindset outside of forum, we don't necessarily have the other pillars of forum in those interactions. We don't necessarily have confidentiality. We don't necessarily have safety. So as we shift into that forum mindset outside of forum, we have to be mindful of really how we can still use it, absolutely. But when we are going to experience share, we want to make sure the experience shares that we use, we're okay if those get shared, because we don't have that implicit confidentiality when we're talking to employees or other people outside of forum.
Because, mate, using the forum mindset outside of forum can be dangerous. It can be, if it's actually done wrong, because it bit me in the butt, just so you know. Because my personality is I either trust you totally or I don't trust you at all. You know me, mate. That's just part of my personality. And unfortunately, for some people outside of my forum, within my business, I trusted 100% that I shouldn't have. And that came back. But when it comes down to that journey, I loved how you put down there confidentiality leads to safety, vulnerability, and then it leads to true connection, which I must admit, I've had my GM now with me for 14 years. My accounts girl, Julia, over in the corner here, who's no longer here, obviously. She started with me when she was 14. She's coming up to her 18th year with me. And I have to admit, when you just spoke about that, the main reason was I've actually got literally every single one of those with those girls who are really part of the family, let alone part of the business. And it's something which I don't think is common out there, let alone in forums. But when it comes down to taking it outside of forum, have you had any experiences, Laird, where it worked really well, if you know what I mean, or the same thing like forum, where it didn't work, like mine?
I would say for the most part, it almost always works very well. And if you're mindful of what you're experience sharing with the people you're using the forum mindset with, I would say there is a level of safety there. But it's something you have to be aware of. You need to make sure. One EO member was telling me about somebody was giving them an experience share, and they're like, "You're not going to believe this," and told them a story, and that EO member's like, "Yeah, I would believe it. That was my story." They had shared it with somebody, and it came full circle, and it was experience shared back to them. But one really interesting place, as I talked about it, I started using the forum mindset kind of organically, not so much as a conscious decision until recently. But as I started to look at places that I use the forum mindset, one really unusual place that I found that I use it's in my sales process. So when I sit down and I talk to my customers, I do that with a beginner's mind. I practice Shoshin. I actively listen to what they say instead of trying to formulate a response, and kind of really get to know what their pain points are. For most people who are not skilled or used to the forum mindset, they're just not used to somebody listening that actively to them and hearing them. So when it comes time for me to tell them how I can help them, with their problem, they've already told me everything I need to know. I know what their pain points are. I know how they feel about it. I know what it looks like. And then I know whether or not I can solve it with the services that we offer in our business.
Mate, I do love the idea of your sales process, seeking to understand what your customer actually needs, which is something which obviously we all have to actually train ourselves in forum. The question I've got for you, Anish, about the very first one, which is confidentiality. And I've had to deal with a couple of times where confidentiality has fallen down. And I agree with Laird. You start there. If you don't have confidentiality, the rest doesn't happen anyway. If there's not going to be a safe space, there's not going to be empathy, there's nothing. If there is a confidentiality breach, and let's start with a confidentiality breach which is unintended, what is the first thing forums should do, or moderators should do immediately to tackle it? Go for it, Anish. I know I'm throwing you out.
No. It's I was thinking more on the forum mindset, and
Sorry,
that's okay. So confidentiality, the first thing the forum could do is, of course, the person who is on the other side of the breach, whose confidentiality has been breached, it's very important that the person talks to the moderator one-on-one, maybe have a conversation with the person who has, and as you rightly said, most of the time it's unintentional breach. It's just getting carried away. Human, yeah, you're wired for that. And as long as the breach is, as long as the person accepts it, have a conversation with them, I think a one-on-one conversation with that person and then updating the forum later on that this is what happened and we've tackled it in this way, which really also raises the awareness of the other forum members. And again, using the Tuckman's development model, performing, and again, they drop down and this storms the forum all over again. Again, they set new norms and again, they perform. So every such situations are actually welcome because it sort of, rejuvenates the forum in a way. Yes, of course, there's a risk associated with it. I agree. But at the same time, it makes the forum more and more aware about it. So yeah, that's how one should handle breach of confidentiality.
And to reset it, I love that from the point of view one-on-one, then bring you back to the forum, what happened. And just a quick question for you, Laird, just about your sales process, about, how you brought the forum mindset, active listening into it. Mate, have you actually passed that skill on to your other people who do sales within your company, if you know what I mean, those type of things?
So not actively, but one of the interesting things that I found is as I practice the forum mindset within my company, I start to see my employees mirror it. They mirror it with each other. And it's just setting the example as a leader. And I think one of the number one, we did a survey last year of forum chairs. What's the number one benefit you get using the forum mindset outside of forum? And one of the biggest, by far, things that came back was in communicating with teens, communicating with your kids, and particularly teenage girls, because, members found that, when, particularly in that teenage time, they don't want to be told what to do. They don't want advice, so they want somebody to listen to them. They're starting to form their own opinions and who they're going to be in life. So the fact that they're getting an experience share from a parent versus, being told what to do, many of our members have just found that to be transformational. I'm curious if you find that in your family, Rod.
Okay, I've got a 21-year-old daughter, a 17-year-old son, as well as, of course, 4-year-old Samuel. And mate, totally. Mate, when you were just talking about that just then, it just resonated because my daughter's teaching me how to swim right now for a port to pub ocean swim we're doing. And she's teaching me, and she's loving that because it's not me telling her what to do. She's, funny enough, telling me what to do. But when it comes down to the relationship, you're correct. Taking that non-problem solving, but when I was your age, this is what I did, or have you thought about this, or just actively listening to them, especially my son, who's Caleb, who's just started in the business. He doesn't know what he wants to do. And he is definitely the personality who loves being listened to and then given experience so he can make up his own mind rather than anything else, which is something which has worked well. But I do like the idea where you said down there about the about people are copying you within your business from the point of view of your forum mindset sales page. And Anish, I'm guessing, mate, that is also true within the forum experience, where someone has to be able to be in forum mindset 100%, trust everyone and so on, to show everyone what it looks like before everyone else can be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Observer.
Mate, is it now, does it need to be the moderator, or can it be anyone?
The forum mindset observer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, perfect. Mate, it's something which I've taken a note down here because it's something which it's funny within the forum experience and these type of things we're talking about. When you talk about confidentiality or deep dives, getting to the 5% or whatever you're talking in the forum experience. I remember when I began my forum experience, I didn't believe this stuff, to be honest. Come on, people will talk about this. Everyone talks about it. No, I can't talk about that with people because I don't talk about that with people, those type of things. And it actually took my trainer, which was Troy Hazard back many, many years ago, to show me what it looked like during our training. I went, and in other words, and when I became the actual moderator of our forum, as well as other forums that I've seeded, when I actually went through the same stuff, actually showing them how deep 5% is, how confidential or how you do not share experience and those sort of things was important for their journey, let alone my journey. It's quite funny when you get into a forum who's having their challenges and no one's ready to jump in yet, especially when they're all new. If no one's ready to jump in yet. If someone wanted to jump in, or someone wanted to push back against the forum experience and say something like, I'm here to learn, obviously from the forum, but I don't want to share things about my personal life, or I don't want to share things about my family, or whatever it is. I only want to talk about business. As a forum, do you challenge those things, or do you just allow the member to gain the value they want? What do you think, Anish? Because just don't know why I asked that question. I get that question a lot on the same page. That's why I asked the question.
Is that for me or for Laird?
Yes, Anish, you go first, mate.
Sure. So there's a reason why Gestalt language protocol was upgraded to forum mindset. So when we see forum mindset holistically, it's beyond no advice, only experience share. There are lots of other pieces to it. And it begins with Soshin. So whether in the forum and also outside the forum, if you have to practice forum mindset, it could be just pieces of this. Curiosity, active listening, showing empathy, about being equals and not about being right. So if a forum member is probably in the forum for, say, learning and wanting to learn from everyone, but not ready to share, is what your question is. Yep. It could very well quite begin with a mindset of just being curious and learning from others, get to a point where they will start sharing. So that's one way of looking at it. The mindset is holistic. It's not just about no advice, only experience share. That's just a piece of it now. And that's how we see it. And similarly, for a mindset outside the forum as well, yes, there are issues about confidentiality and things like that, but there are no issues of confidentiality if you are just curious, if you're just actively listening. If your curiosity and active listening is rubbing off on others in your family, within your leadership team, great, you've practiced your forum mindset right there. So it's how we see it. Another way to do it is, so I learned from another fellow trainer, and I'm going to name him right now, is Kevin Craig. He always gives this example that when there's a pool party at someone's place, and the host decides that this pool party is now been converted into a skinny dipping party. Who is the first person that's going to jump in? And when that happens, of course, it's expected out of the host, but maybe not. But somebody out of those 50, 100 people will jump in. And when that happens, others follow suit right away. So it's maybe the person is not wanting to share the moment, but eventually when forum mindset is practiced holistically, the sharing becomes much easier. Like also Laird mentioned earlier, that confidentiality, personal responsibility, and the four cornerstones, but all four cornerstones intertwined with forum mindset in a way. So I hope I'm able to put that perspective.
That makes totally sense. So in other words, if someone's a little bit, start somewhere. Start one of them. Start somewhere, knowing that everyone's journey is a little bit, it is different. Some are faster, some are slower, but also make sure you show them what it looks like and why they can take the next step, as you said before. No, it makes sense. Laird, do you have any comments on that, mate?
Yeah, I do. And I think I would just want to share, I was working with the forum that was in crisis and was in discovery mode trying to figure out where they were. And one member really summed it up great. This member stated that there were two members in that forum that were not willing to go 5%, were not willing to share. And he said, look, we can only go as deep as our shallowest member. So I 100% agree, modeling what forum mindset and what vulnerability looks like is really critical in a forum. But if you have members that are not going deep, what ends up happening is the rest of the members cannot continue to go deep because it starts to infringe on the safety of the forum because they feel like they are showing more vulnerability than other members of the forum. So if you can get them past that, great. But if it's something that's ongoing very, very often, that takes value away from the entire forum.
Mate, it's true. And I have to admit, for my own journey, it took me 18 months to trust my forum. 6 months of that was as the moderator, doing a very bad job because I hadn't had my training yet. But now, though, you put me in a forum, it's second nature to me now. But I have to remember that that's not normal, if you know what I mean. If you remember coming in, that's not normal. And something which I have to keep reminding myself that jumping in that far isn't necessarily a normal move. Go.
If I could kind of jump onto that, Rod.
Yeah.
So we talk about some of the pitfalls of using the forum mindset outside of forum. So for many people who will use this with, they've never experienced this before. So what ends up happening is they may feel very safe because you're using the forum mindset, you're not being judgmental, and then they go very vulnerable before that trust has been established. And as EO members, we're so used to this intimacy that when we see vulnerability, we often mirror it and also, show it ourselves. And if that trust and security has not been established in that relationship outside EO, we kind of need to be careful about reflexively being vulnerable.
Very true. That's what bit me on the backside for mine. Just bring up a very good question. There's been a couple of comments here. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Apologies. And also, this is primarily from Course CC, and a couple of us have been commenting primarily around, one part of the triangle rather than the others. Some new members, I only want business, I don't want family, personal, and so on. So the only suggestion I would have with this is, or question I've got for you two is, if someone doesn't, let's say the rest of the forum wants to share everything, and a new member comes in and they only want to share business, for example. And is that a problem, firstly? And secondly, if you believe it is a problem or not, how would you tackle it? Because obviously, if you have half the forum sharing everything in their lives and the other half only sharing business, does that cause friction in your experience, you do? Anish, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I want to sort of ask a question or sort of raise an awareness here before I answer this, is when a new member comes into an existing forum and they only want to share one piece of the triangle or one corner and not all the three, whereas the forum which they are entering is already sharing all the three aspects and they want to get equal benefit or at least some benefit on all aspects of their lives. First and foremost, that needs to be reflecting in their constitution as a part of their vision and mission and their purpose together. And if that's reflecting in the constitution, that constitution needs to be handed over to the incoming member. Do you align with this constitution? Because we're not going to change the constitution just because you don't like one part of it. Of course, we will review it next year, and your inputs will be welcome at that time. But for now, you have to accept this is what our forum is. So if we start from there, maybe this question never arises.
Good point. And Laird, do you have any comments on that, mate? I'm guessing you agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's really going to be up to that member who is kind of out of step with the forum on whether or not they're okay with that. So they may be okay with that and still get enough value out of that forum. But one of the things we have to remember is forum's not permanent. Very often there's a stigma with an EO that leaving your forum is like quitting your family. And in many ways it is. But we have, a personal accountability. We need to make sure that we get the value that we need. So if, I as a member or either of you as a member, any EO member is not getting what they need out of forum, then it's time to start looking at different forums, because for so many people, they're in one forum for many years and they just don't understand how every forum is different. Each one has a different personality, a different feel, a different mission and vision. And, it's up to them to, make that change and get what they need out of forum.
Mate, it makes total sense to me. Both of you made sense. Not only from Anish, your points there about starting on the expectations of what the forum is about, handing over the constitution so everyone knows they're there to share everything or whatever the forum has decided to do, to therefore make sure that there's best fit within the forum so you don't have to have that conversation later. But also, Laird, you made a very big comment or very big point there about forum isn't for life. Funny enough, the next Forum Bites episode is fun enough about that, about the badge of honor of, staying. And I have to say I've left 3 forums in my tenure. One was my 14-year forum and 2 seed forums, and all of them were difficult. And I have to echo your point, mate, from the point of view of it's like leaving a family member, but sometimes it's the right thing to do. That's the biggest point. And the one thing is that I suppose from this point of view, if people don't necessarily want to share everything and they don't align with what the forum's about, they may just need to look for other forums who might be what they're about, which, mate, I do agree. It's something which is, I know it's a tough one. Believe me, I've dealt with many, many people who have not getting the value from their forum. They love the people they're with, but they don't want to break up with them, if that makes sense. It's like going out with someone else and you're sharing the same friends group. You know what I mean? And they don't want to put on social media some of the places they're seeing because their other forum isn't. Oh, and it is. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not. But the thing is I suppose if we're not getting the value we need, we can look for that value elsewhere, especially in this virtual world. Goodness me, there's everything out there nowadays. Okay, so in other words, the last couple of things here really comes down. Now, Laird, I wanted to ask you a quick question before, because I did promise that this was going to be under an hour. I can talk all day. That's the problem. Laird, when it comes down to you're going into a new leadership role in the forum committee, are you not? Is it next year, July?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And do you want to talk about what you're thinking, the planning at least? Have you got any ideas where maybe the forum committee might be going in the next 12 months from July onwards? Or because I know the forum committee works exceptionally hard with a lot of stuff that they're doing behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, it's very much so. I'm going to be taking over as Global Forum Committee Chair, but it's very much driven by the team and the committee, and as far as what we see as the needs for forum. Obviously, in 2020, we had no idea that we were going to be making such a drastic shift to forum, and we had to pretty much retool. But from a forum mindset standpoint, I can share a little bit about what our plan is. So this call is the first step in the awareness portion. The next is we are reaching out for stories. We're looking. We've gathered a group of EO members who have some great stories about how they use the forum mindset outside of forum and the value that they get out of that. And we've partnered with an amazing videographer and storyteller, Nick Askew, and he's going to be producing a series of videos for us to really kind of bring these stories to life and what the real value is in using the forum mindset outside of forum. And then what we're hoping to do is take that and then start to really build it into a curriculum on how can we do this and how can we get this value, because for us to only get value out of the forum mindset for 4 hours out of a month is kind of, we're leaving a lot on the table, in my opinion.
Agree.
So I do want to throw it back to Anish. Anish, what are some areas that you've seen forum mindset outside of forum? Any stories you have to share?
I can share a very recent example, and how that forum mindset really helped change the course of a conversation. So we recently had a long weekend, kite flying festival, basically. And it was one of those days when I was in the evening on my tab. And I'm part of an Angels network. So I was listening to a pitch that one of the startups was doing over Zoom. And my wife came into the room, and she went, "It's a weekend, it's our holidays. What are you doing at 6 p.m. On your tab? You should be with us." Because like we've talked about this earlier, that it's so natural to use forum mindset now after practicing it for so many years. I'm like, hey, why don't you do one thing? Join me on what I'm doing. And the moment that happened, I triggered curiosity in her. And it started from there. So it's using forum mindset is not only about us, but how we can rub it off on others around us so that we are constantly aligned. So 2 things happened. She went in, she listened to the whole pitch with me. Fortunately, the product that was being pitched was of her interest as well. After the pitch, we had a conversation. What do you think about it? What are some things she liked about it? What are some things I liked about it? Should we invest, not invest? and things like that. And from me justifying to what I was doing on the tab changed to what we would now do together as a couple. So the whole mindset changed. And we also talked about a few investments we've done in the past, worked, not worked, and it brought in their experience sharing or maybe reflecting and resonating to our past as well. So it just became a very natural conversation there. So it's for a mindset is, two things, how we naturally converse and show ourselves up in terms of a conversation, whether it is our spouse, family, leadership team, friends, cousins, extended family, of course, forum as well, where we master it. But at the same time, how we can lead this to a conversation, which is where we don't go into a defense, offensive, or a justification mode, and have an equal conversation with peers.
Mate, I like how you just put that. The non-offensive, defensive line, you're just being and listening, which makes a huge difference there from the point of view of those. Sorry, Laird, have you got anything else, mate?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of talk about, how do you do this? How do we start to take the forum mindset outside of forum? And I think, for myself, and I think for Anish also, it just started with something that happened organically. But, on the forum mindset team, on the forum committee, we've got 4 members, and one of the members shared a story that I got his permission to share. So since we've been having these discussions on forum mindset, it's really kind of motivated him to start doing this in his life. So he carries around on his phone the graphic on what the forum mindset is. He tries to be very mindful of it, but at the same time finds that he gets very frustrated. So, Anish can teach what the forum mindset is in 90 seconds. Or 120 seconds, but it really is something that takes a lifetime to master. And we have to remember, we got to cut ourselves some slack. We're not going to be able to do this 100% of the time. We are going to fail at this. This is something I practice and really focus on. And last Friday, I was having a really bad day, and I came home at lunch, and I absolutely blew up at my wife. And just, the only way to describe it is the word begins with A and ends with whole. And she was also having a day that blew up, and we forgot forum mindset, and it was defense. It was very reactionary, just falling back into those learned behaviors and those defensive filters that we'd learned over the course of our life. But the cool thing is that evening we were able to get back into the forum mindset and have a very respectful discussion about, what was going wrong with my day, what was going wrong with her day, and really get to a much better place. So we need to remember that even though we know what it is and we know how to do it and we know what it looks like, we are human, and we're going to fall back onto our learned behaviors, and we're going to fall back and see the world through filters that we've developed over the course of our lifetime.
And that's an exceptionally good point there, mate, which reinforces the offensive and defensive part, which makes sense. And we all have those bad days, mate. And it's funny how you fall back into habits, usually bad ones too, when you have those bad days. I've had a few of those over the last, definitely the last 12 months.
And it happens in a fraction of a second.
Oh, mate, without doubt. And we've all faced some challenges and continue to face challenges, especially for this year going forward. Now, boys, is there anything else you'd like to bring up? Because we're ticking over to nearly an hour now. And as I said, I want to keep it below an hour for us for the first one. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up whatsoever before we do the sign-off? Silence is golden, by the way.
So what I would encourage people to do is just kind of watch as we get these videos completed on the forum mindset and the storytelling. We will be distributing these through the normal channels, through forum shares, moderators, and the EO staff. Our goal is to have a page on the EO website, hopefully devoted to forum mindset. So there's a place that members can go to find out more about it, to see this podcast, to see the videos, and then resources that they can use to really start to use the forum mindset and build that skill outside of forum.
Beautiful. Any final things from you, Anish?
I just want to just agree to what Laird has just mentioned, and we're looking forward to impact the community, and through the community impact the world, and that's what forum mindset is going to take as a means to effective communication, learning, growth, and discovery for everyone.
Totally with them. And from my first, I would like to thank everyone for being here for the first Forum Bites live stuff. I started this channel, funny enough, around when Laird and I was actually there, primarily because we wanted to make sure that we shared what has worked in Forum, what doesn't work in Forum, to help anyone who's in Forum to avoid the same problems or do the same things we did to gain Forum value. The Forum Live concept is primarily just about talking about Forum. We hope to do these on a regular basis. Of course, naturally, we'll wait for the plan from the Forum committee going forward. But I do have some plans going forward, because we will just talk about Forum to add value to the Forum experience. I love these things because I've literally learned, I've been here a long time, I've learned multiple things here, boys, when it comes to, which is awesome. So just remember, for our future live cross, of course, if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, it does make it easier. You can then get the scheduled stuff to make it far, far easier. This is actually going to be a video online for people who missed it. And it's going to be on the replay. So the biggest question I've had from people, what time is it going to be? What we're aiming for is Friday for Forum, but the time will vary because obviously, as you can see, we're all from different regions, literally, and we want to make sure that as many people can be live as possible, changing, but trying to keeping it to Fridays my time, might be Friday night my time, and so on. But other than that, thank you everyone for watching. And of course, we'll see you very soon in the next episode, which funny enough is going up next Friday. Thank you, boys, for everything. And it's time for us to go.